Welcome everyone. We'll be just starting in another 30 seconds. Waiting for more folks to join. Cool. So let me just open up this webinar. Welcome everybody to the yet another edition of Spinnaker India online meetup. Generally, we do these meetups at the last week of the last Friday of every month. But last month we had specifically the biggest event for the folks who are involved around Spinnaker. So it was Spinnaker Summit last week, and the whole team at OpsMx and including our folks, engineers were busy at the Spinnaker Summit. I hope some of you would have got the chance to connect with, meet some of our folks during the summit. If you were participating in that summit, if you had the chance to go to our booth, you would have gotten to see some of the great demos and specific material which we had posted up there. So with this, I think, this month we would be having a couple of meetups. This is just at the start of July, and then we'll come to our natural rhythm of the last Friday of every month. And this time around, it gives me immense pleasure again to welcome back Abhinay for this version of the meetup. So regular agenda. Hello, like we have always. Hi, Abhinay. And Abhinay would be taking us through this topic is specifically Spinnaker+Terraform, infrastructure provisioning into the continuous delivery pipeline. And we'll keep it quite short and focused, around 50 minutes around that, and then we'll open it up for the questions. Q&A session is specifically just regular hygiene items. Keep all your questions coming. Keep it a very interactive session. Keep them coming into the Q&A section instead of the chat, so that we are able to track what all questions are there and we don't miss out on any questions. Another thing before I open up the poll for this meetup, just come and visit or join this particular meetup, Spinnaker India online meetup. If you do a quick Google search, you would be able to find us there and join us for regular updates around Spinnaker, and keep coming for these virtual sessions till we open it up for, we have or the situations allow us for a virtual meetup, for a in-person meetup, which would be awesome. So let me just stop sharing my screen and open up the first poll. So guys, we have a quick poll for all of you guys, just to understand the audience here, and we understand who all is there. Please keep your questions coming, keep responding to this poll. I hope you would be able to see those questions on the poll. Okay, thank you. I'm getting some responses. Yeah, a couple of questions. Question number one is, are you currently doing continuous delivery? If yes, with what percentage of your production applications? Just indicate your answers. And is your organization currently evaluating using Spinnaker? Okay, great. I see some of the votes coming here, and I think we have 84% of the votes. Guys, giving you 5 more seconds for this poll. Okay, Sure. I'm closing the polling in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to share the results. So yeah, many of the folks, I think, are not familiar with continuous delivery or not doing continuous delivery at the moment. They are, but similar percentage of people are saying that they are using continuous delivery. So we have a mixed audience there, Abhinay, this time. And many of the folks, yes, they are evaluating Spinnaker as their next continuous delivery tool. So I hope that might have
yeah, it's also good to see. It's also good to see few people who are using Spinnaker joining. Yeah, nice.
Okay, cool. So with this, Abhinay, I'll give the floor to you. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, let me share my screen. All right. Just I'll bring up my screen. Yeah. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Yeah. Hello all. Welcome to Spinnaker India Meetup. My name is Abhinay. I work as a DevOps engineer at OpsMx. And today I'm here to present you a topic on how we can leverage the potential of Terraform and provision your infrastructure as part of your Spinnaker CD pipeline. So yeah, both of them are leaders in their own space. If you look at Spinnaker is one of the leading continuous delivery tools out there, and of course Terraform has proven its potential in the infrastructure provisioning space. So I just wanted to touch upon how we can leverage the potential of both the tools and construct better pipelines as part of your continuous delivery. All right. So I'll give a quick background of OpsMx. I don't want to, like I always say, I don't want to make it look like a marketing event. So as I said, I work for OpsMx. We work with continuous delivery products. OpsMx Enterprise Spinnaker being our first product. We also have one of our other products is Autopilot, which is an ML powered tool. It revolves around continuous delivery space. You can it not just integrates with Spinnaker, but also can be used with other DevOps tools out there. And yeah, we do have customers across the globe, Cisco, Snapchat, and others. And yeah, today I'm here to talk about interesting topic called ephemeral application deployment process. So you must have heard about immutable infrastructure, ephemeral infrastructure, and all that. So I wanted to talk more about what ephemeral application deployment means. Typically, what we do is we have our clusters or infrastructure running somewhere, and our continuous delivery pipelines would typically build stuff, deploy stuff onto some environment, and run some test suites and get the results and done with it. And we'll have the infrastructure lying around all the time. And there are situations, even though you enable things like auto scaling and all that, there is a high possibility that your infrastructure will be lying around idle. So one of the ways to address that problem is by having this ephemeral infrastructure. So when I say ephemeral infrastructure, you'll bring up your infrastructure only when you require it. If you look at any of the cloud providers, right, we all know how costly cloud providers are. So we don't want to keep the infrastructure idle in any cloud at any point in time. So we, at least I personally, the way I work with the, cloud is whenever I need something, I'll bring it up, use it and destroy. So why can't we do the same thing when we, deploy our application, at least in the QA environments? If not, staging and prod and all those things are, meant to be there, even though when they are idle and all that. So, but why QA environment and why any test environment? Why does it have to lie around? So that's what I'm going to talk about today, wherein let's say I have these 4 steps. Like I was talking about, we need to create an infrastructure and deploy it. And let's say I want to save cost and destroy my infrastructure after I am done with everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pipeline that will create infrastructure for deployment, deploy my application, and to the same infrastructure which is created in the previous step, and then run a bunch of test suites. And if publish the test results to some artifactory or some repository, and destroy the infrastructure because I don't need it anymore. I might run my test suites later on, like tonight or maybe tomorrow, and I can bring up my infrastructure in a few minutes, right? Why do I want to keep it around? So yeah, that's what I'm gonna demonstrate to you guys, how I can construct my pipeline to achieve this. So before I move forward, I have also seen people who are new to Spinnaker and have not used Spinnaker ever. So let me also give a brief intro of what Spinnaker is. I assume that most of the folks who are in here at least know the potential of Terraform. So if I were to tell you in a single line what Terraform does, Terraform is an infrastructure provisioning tool, and it also helps us, have infrastructure as code, so that we don't have to bother about what infrastructure we have, or whenever we want to make some modification. So we can just make it in the code, apply it, and so that we would have information on what resources we created and what resources are we currently using and maintaining, right? So, and Spinnaker is a continuous delivery tool, and it's a multi-cloud delivery tool. When I say multi-cloud, Spinnaker off the shelf integrates with all the major cloud providers out there, like AWS, GCP, Azure, and so on and so forth. And one of the myths we have in the DevOps community, I assume that most of the folks are either DevOps engineers or somehow acquainted with this term DevOps. So one of the myths that we have in our DevOps community is continuous deployment means whenever there is a package, without any manual intervention, you put it in the production server. That's what people call continuous deployment. And when they call continuous delivery, they say if there is any manual intervention before production deployment, people call it continuous delivery. But that's not true. Continuous delivery actually is an umbrella of continuous integration, continuous deployment, in fact, infrastructure provisioning, configuration management, and all that stuff. So continuous delivery is like end-to-end flow, right from the developer's laptop till the production. It's not that if there is no automation, it's continuous delivery, and if everything is fully automated, it's continuous deployment. No. So Spinnaker helps you, orchestrate your pipeline so that you can move your software right from developer's laptop till the production seamlessly. And it's so powerful because it integrates well with most of the tools out there. If it doesn't integrate with any tool, off the shelf, out of the box, probably you can create a custom stage for it and integrate with that. And yeah, these are few features of Spinnaker. It helps you, construct these delivery pipelines, automate flows, and not just create pipelines. These pipelines can be triggered based on events or manual or cron scheduled trigger. So that you can seamlessly trigger them, and it can you can do deployments. You can do hybrid deployments. That's the biggest advantage, because lately we have seen that most of the enterprises are moving to this hybrid cloud model, Anthos, and people are also considering to use on-prem plus cloud together. We have been seeing cases wherein we are creating virtual private network between cloud and on-prem, and playing with stuff. And automate release process, like was mentioning, pipelines can be triggered based on various events and external hooks. And there are also, the interesting part with Spinnaker is it off the shelf gives you a lot of deployment strategies. Let's say you want to create an EC2 instance in AWS. You don't have to really, go to your AWS infrastructure, go to the console and create create an EC2 instance from there. You can create a pipeline and define a stage in the pipeline wherein you will choose all the options that you typically choose in AWS console. And over there are, like I was saying, there are various deployment strategies. When I say deployment strategies, you can choose Highlander strategy, which will simply delete the old instance and replace it with the new instance. That too only if health checks pass. And you can also choose something called blue green, or wherein you will have both the VMs lying around, and but traffic will not be flowing to the old one, and because it is disabled, and traffic, you would see the traffic flowing to the only new one. So in the same way, you can have various strategies in place when you deploy something using Spinnaker. And it doesn't just apply for VMs. You can also deploy your Kubernetes workloads in the same way. You can probably choose Canary or Red Black or Rolling Red Black and deploy your workloads. All right. So like I was saying, this is how your typical ephemeral pipeline looks like, wherein I have Terraform plan stage at the beginning of my pipeline, which takes care of infrastructure provisioning. I have Terraform plan, Terraform apply, and to provision my infrastructure. So after I plan, right, I'll say whether I want to approve the plan. If I say approve the plan, it will go ahead and deploy the infrastructure in some cloud. And when after deploying after creating the infrastructure, it would ask me, Spinnaker would prompt me to, decide whether I'm ready to deploy my applications or not. If I say yes, this is basically a manual judgment stage. Approve plan, ready to deploy apps. These are basically manual judgment stages. And when I say yes, it will go ahead and deploy the application. And after deploying the application, it will basically run some test suites, and if publish the test suites results to some Artifactory, and ask me whether I want to keep the infrastructure for some more time. Let's say there is some infrastructure issue, or because of which test cases fail, or let's say there is some test suite issue, and I want to troubleshoot that. I want to keep the infrastructure and troubleshoot that. Then I'll not decide till I'm done analyzing my test cases. So after analyzing my test cases, I'll say, okay, go ahead and destroy. Spinnaker will simply destroy my infrastructure. So this is a very simple pipeline and a use case involving Terraform and the potential of Spinnaker in deploying applications, but you can construct more advanced and sophisticated ones around this. All right. So yeah, I'll move to the demo. I didn't want to, add more slides and bore you guys. So I would prefer you to, show you the actual stuff and show you what happens behind the scenes and how Terraform is used in Spinnaker and how we can configure the pipelines and all that. All right. So yeah, let me quickly show you what I have. Just a moment. Yeah. So it's the same pipeline that I was showing you guys, wherein I have this Terraform plan, and in Terraform plan, I'll basically use specify. I don't obviously we wouldn't want to expose the credentials in the pipeline, right, as part of the pipeline. So either we can configure Spinnaker to get the credentials from Vault, or I have configured my credentials as a sealed secret on my Kubernetes cluster. And, I'll be just using the names of those accounts in my pipelines. So just a moment, I actually forgot to walk you guys through how these stages are created in the first place. So if we look at Spinnaker, right, Spinnaker off the shelf supports integration with CloudFormation only, and Azure GCP code deploy and to create infrastructure in Azure. It does support, but yeah, it supports using Terraform. And so to integrate Spinnaker with Terraform, so we have created custom stages just to integrate, make use of Terraform: plan, apply, and destroy. So if you look at the open source Spinnaker, you won't really get to see this Terraform: plan, apply, and destroy. But don't worry, we do have public documents available on our website using which you can create custom stages and all. And we don't want to keep this within us, and we just wanted to contribute back to the community. So I'll just walk you through how we create custom stages in the first place. So Terraform, if maybe the people who are already acquainted with Spinnaker knows how many services are there in Spinnaker and what service deals with what. So there is this specific service called Orca that deals with the orchestration, using which we add custom stages to Spinnaker. So what we typically do is, to Spinnaker configuration, we create this new file called orca-local.yaml. And every custom stage that I have, right, it's just a Kubernetes job there. So when this specific stage is triggered, it will spin up a job in Kubernetes cluster in a specific namespace, get the job done. So it's as simple as that. So whatever manifest that I want to give for this specific job, I would specify in this orca-local.yaml. That's all. I don't really need anything. And there is one specific, image that we created for a Terraform, so that when you choose plan as command as plan, it will run Terraform plan in the background, taking whatever inputs that you give. And when you choose apply as your command, it would do Terraform apply. In case you want to override input files, it will just put in the input tfvars file that you override from the GUI. So all these options that you see here parameters. I think there is a power cut. I might have to stop my video. Yeah. So all these parameters that we see here are basically the same parameters that we see in Spinnaker GUI, TF script account, plan script repo, TF location, override file, and all that. So these are the same options that we have defined in the custom stage.
Abhinay.
Yeah,
Shalin this side. So there are a couple of, I think, 3 questions. Do you want to take them right now? They are related to what you're explaining it right now.
Yeah, so, let me, how integrate Spinnaker with Terraform. Let me share the answer here. Yes, as just mentioned. Yeah, this Terraform integrates Spinnaker with Terraform, right? So as I'm mentioning, you just need to create a custom stage and integrate with Spinnaker with Terraform. You don't really need to develop a plugin unlike Jenkins and integrate something. Anything you want, you can create a custom stage in Spinnaker. It's fairly simple, and you can also make use of webhooks and create custom stages, or Kubernetes job to do your custom stage stuff, right? So yeah, you don't, and of course we can create plugins in Spinnaker, but creating plugins is a little more complicated stuff, and creating a custom job is fairly simple.
Sure, thanks, Abhinay. There are a couple of questions in the chat as well. Everyone, I would encourage you to put your questions in the Q&A section so that, there's no confusion with regards.
So yeah, hi all, post your questions in the Q&A section. Okay, yes. Instead of sealed secret, is there any way directly we can configure in Spinnaker service.yaml? Not really. We can probably put it in a sealed secret, or you might want to just put it in a normal secret, and yeah, and it depends. In case you want to get the secrets from the way you can get the secrets from Vault is I'm showing you the manifest, job manifest here, right? So currently what I'm doing is whatever the credentials that I have, I'm putting it into the sealed secret, and that sealed secret, I'm mounting it as a volume on the on this job, on the pod that is spawned by this job. So in case I want to get it from Vault, I'll just put my data in Vault and have the annotations in here so that I'll get the necessary stuff from Vault pulled into my pod. And Spinnaker service.yaml actually is meant for a different purpose. So I'm afraid you cannot put it on the Spinnaker service. If you put it on the Spinnaker service.yaml, it's like plainly exposed, right? So we wouldn't recommend that. How Terraform state is handled in Spinnaker. So to demonstrate this pipeline, right, I just made use of Git as my backend store to store my Terraform state file. In case you want to configure your S3 bucket or Google storage bucket, you are free to configure it in your Terraform config files. Basically, this is the repo where my Terraform config files are present. So in here, if I want to store my, let's say, state file in a S3 bucket, I'll simply have my backend configured in my config files itself and just put it there. But here, what I'm doing is whenever I, deploy some infrastructure, right, I'm zipping my state file and stuff and putting into another Git repository. So that's what I'm specifying when I say I just want to hide this thing just a minute. God. Yeah. All right. So this being my repository where Terraform config files are present, right? I'll simply have this thing configured in here. So this is the location or repo where your Terraform config files are present. And this is the subdirectory where your config files are present in that specific repo. And in case you want to override default values, default variables with a custom, TF-vars file, you can just specify it here. And this is the data related to where you want to store your state file. So I'm saying store a state file in this specific Git repository. If I choose to, put it in some S3 bucket, I'm free to do so. So I'll simply have to, specify my bucket name in here and name the account in which my, AWS access key and secret key are present. So like I was mentioning, this account details are stored in a secret that's mounted on the pod. So we are mounting this Terraspin backend config, right? So in this Terraspin backend config secret, I'll have an account, and that account will have the details of my AWS credentials so that I can put the data into S3 bucket or somewhere. All right, so I would have Terraform plan, and after I plan something, I'll get to, approve the plan and then, apply it and eventually deploy my application as part of that. So let me start this pipeline and show you how it works. So I just started my pipeline. Typically, right, the way we see the Terraform logs saying how things went and all that, we would see them in the same way in the console here in the pipeline, so that you can take a call whether you want to go ahead and deploy it or not. So it says all these resources need to be created. There are around 53 resources that need to be created. And if I say, yeah, I'm okay with the plan, and I say approve the plan, continue. When I say continue, it will just go ahead and start creating the infrastructure for me. It would take a while, but I think I can show you the last execution, which was done an hour ago. It takes 12 minutes to bring up an EKS cluster. So what it is doing in the background is it's creating a Kubernetes cluster on AWS. And as part of the cluster creation, right, I do have a few provisioners in there, which will deploy a few Helm chats on that cluster, and later dependent Helm chats, basically any Helm chat or anything that my application is dependent on. I can simply make use of Terraform provisioner, and my application is dependent on Nginx and Cert Manager. So I'm just installing them. And as certain resources got created, and I get the kubeconfig files and to that cluster, so that the same kubeconfig file, right? I'm creating an EKS cluster, so I would want a kubeconfig file to connect to it, right? So the same kubeconfig file can be used in the subsequent stages to deploy the applications. And once it deploys my application and runs some test suites. The same state file and Terraform config files stored in this specific repo, staging Terraform states, will be used to destroy the infrastructure. So we are basically maintaining a unique ID in here, using which our state files are stored. So you just need to specify a unique ID. This is not parameterized. We can just parameterize this unique ID in here and give whatever you want while triggering the pipeline, so that your pipeline, your state files and all, right, they get stored with a unique identity. So yeah, that's how you will create a custom stage. I was in between explaining the custom stage, right? So all these parameters in here in orca-local.yaml are the parameters that we see on Spinnaker UI. So when you apply these changes, we would see it in the Spinnaker UI. And the manifest part, I was saying, manifest part is to specify the job manifest. And these inputs, right, these parameters in here are basically mapping to inputs expected by this job. So this job is expecting various environment variables like script account, repo, location, and so on and so forth. So these things, script account and all that, are actually fed from here. So it says manifest, spec, template, spec containers, environment variables, first environment variable, value. So you would map things from parameters to your manifest below and create custom stages. So this is the stage for planning. I have another stage for apply, and I have another one for destroy. So in the same way, you can create any number of custom stages, any stage. So based on my experience, I have created custom stages for Jiras and creating tickets in Jira, updating comments there, or closing the ticket whenever I want to, whenever my task is done. I can just update ticket or close the ticket as part of my pipeline itself. So any questions? I think there are a few more questions in here. To create custom stages, Kubernetes job is mandatory, or is there any other way? No, Kubernetes. There is also one more way, which is webhook. What webhook deals with is, if you look at Spinnaker REST. REST is another way of webhook is another way of creating custom stages, wherein what you do is you will have this, whatever my image in this Kubernetes job is doing, right, a custom Terraform stage image. So that thing will be running somewhere as a service. So this webhook stage will connect to that service, will basically, and that service should expose APIs. So when it is exposing APIs, when this webhook is acting as a stage in Spinnaker, it will post a request to that service running somewhere in external environment, and get the plan from there and display it here. And same thing, while applying, application would be done by service running externally. So webhook is another way of creating custom stage. So there are two ways of creating custom stages in Spinnaker. And coming to the next question, Spinnaker architecture is complex. We need to set up before it is taking time process where we can download Terraform and provision infrastructure in cloud infra. So yeah, I agree that it's a little complicated in the initial days, but I would say once you get comfortable with it, right, it doesn't really take, it's pretty seamless to play with Spinnaker. And that the advantages that we get with Spinnaker, right, they will definitely overweigh its complexity, I would say, because um, uh, let me start sharing my video. Yeah, the advantages, when it comes to advantages, the bigger advantages that we get are, if you look at Jenkins. Jenkins is a build server. People started using Jenkins for deploying stuff because of Jenkins community, and people started creating plugins in Jenkins because they are already comfortable using it. So but the drawback we get there is Jenkins' job ends at deploying something itself. Jenkins doesn't go beyond deploying stuff. If you look at Spinnaker, right, Spinnaker also continues to monitor your resources post deployment, and you can manage your workloads directly from Spinnaker itself. Let's say I work with Azure, AWS, and an on-prem Kubernetes cluster, and I have my workloads running on all three environments. And I want to destroy an EC2 instance that's part of a pipeline or some specific to some microservice. I don't have to really connect to AWS console, terminate the instance from there. I can simply do it from here. This is an ECS instance that's created by a Spinnaker pipeline. I can simply destroy it from here. I don't have to, connect to AWS console or resize it. And this is a Kubernetes deployment. I can simply delete my deployment or scale my deployment from here itself. I can add more replicas. Done. So the advantage, these are few advantages, and this deployment has a replica set and a pod in it, and this pod is still healthy. That's what Spinnaker is saying. So Spinnaker will continue to monitor them, allows us to manage the infrastructure post deploying stuff. And yeah, those are few advantages that we get with Spinnaker. And constructing the pipelines, right? No other application out there gives you that much flexibility in constructing pipelines. If you look at Jenkins, you would have to learn Groovy, or you need to know if it is a freestyle job, maybe it is little easy, but we are moving towards pipeline as code and not preferring freestyle jobs in Jenkins, right? So Spinnaker has pipeline as code concept. So if you look at your pipeline, right, you can simply take your pipeline code, put it in your source code repository, and disable editing of pipeline from here, from GUI. And this is the pipeline code, entire pipeline code in JSON form. So put it in a Git repository, and you get the GitOps style of managing Spinnaker and its applications. And managing Spinnaker, that's when you find our product enterprise. I'll take a minute to talk about enterprise Spinnaker that we are offering. So when it comes to enterprise Spinnaker, everything is GitOps style, as in your Spinnaker configuration, your Halyard configuration, whatever you do, you usually get into Halyard pod, run a bunch of hal config commands, and configure your Spinnaker and do hal deploy apply, right? So with enterprise Spinnaker that we offer, you don't have to do that. So what happens is all your Halyard configuration would reside in Vault or a Git repo or S3 bucket. And you install the Helm chart, and while installing the Helm chart, you will choose from where your Halyard configuration is present. And Spinnaker will simply fetch it from there. And whenever you update your configuration in a Git repo or in S3 bucket, right, automatically Spinnaker gets updated. You don't have to manually go get inside Halyard pod, do a hal deploy apply stuff. And one of the other advantage you get with Spinnaker is you get a lot of integrations off the shelf, like Ansible, or if you don't have any integration, right, you can build it very easily. And like I was mentioning, if you look at GitLab, you need to know YAML and how to write a pipeline in GitLab and all that. So you don't have all that complexity here. Any pipeline can be constructed seamlessly. Yeah, I agree that if you just want to provision infrastructure, Terraform, you don't really need Spinnaker. But if you want to provision infrastructure as part of your pipeline automatically and destroy it as part of your pipeline seamlessly, then Spinnaker is the choice. Docker file you use to create the image which is used for custom. Yeah, I mean, just get in touch with Charlene or someone. We can share the Docker file in case you want to look at the code. We can share that. But typically what we have done is we have just taken a base Ubuntu image, or it can also be Java with Ubuntu with Java, and install a bunch of utilities to connect to AWS, EKS, and others. And yeah, we have just put our scripts on it. That's it. So there isn't much, I would say. Yeah. We can share it with you guys. Not an issue. Just get in touch with Charlene or Lakan post the meeting. We can share it with you. And the image is public, by the way. It's in Quay, so you can just pull it from Quay and start using it. Any other questions, anyone? Yeah, I think, okay, I think I answered most of the questions. And let's go look at the pipeline. Let's see what's the status of the pipeline. So yeah, it's basically deploying cert manager on the top of cluster that's created. And yeah, and maybe meanwhile I can talk about, I don't know who is this who asked about the complexity of Spinnaker. Yeah, in case you want to leverage the potential of Spinnaker and get away with this complexity, right? I would definitely say, OES is the choice. In case you are interested, just get in touch with Charlene or someone. We can walk you through our product. The reason why OES is simple is because, let's say you want to add a new Kubernetes account or new AWS account to Spinnaker. You would usually go to Halyard, run a Halyard command, config commands, and configure Spinnaker, right? But when it comes to OES, you can just add an account from UI itself, as in upload your kubeconfig file and name the account, and done. Your Spinnaker gets updated in the backend. So configuration of Spinnaker is done via GUI when it comes to OES. You don't have to, struggle with Halyard. So there you go. We have our infrastructure created, and yeah, you have 53 resources added, and I'll simply say, okay, I'm ready to deploy my applications. Continue. And it deployed an application. It's running some test suites. So after running the test suites, yeah, depending on my inputs, it will decide whether to destroy or whether to keep the infrastructure around. Meanwhile, I can take some questions in case someone wants any clarification. Yeah. So I'm done running test suites. I'll go ahead and simply destroy the infrastructure from here. So this is a manual judgment stage in here. This thing can wait forever if you want, or you can put a timeout there in case you want to time out any manual judgment stage in there. So yeah, like I was mentioning, it gets destroyed in a few minutes and get done with it. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. In case someone is really interested in, configuring Terraform stages in your Spinnaker instance in your company, just get in touch with Charlie and we can give you the Docker file, image, and necessary documents to use Terraform stages in Spinnaker.
Thanks, Abhinay. Guys, do you have any questions, further questions to ask over here? Just let us know. Apart from that, I mean, you can anyway join us on Meetup platform. Otherwise, Abhinay and myself are available on the Spinnaker Slack channel. And let me just put up the slide.
I think there is a question that I did not address. Can you show us the deployment YAML used to deploy in Kubernetes? Prasad says, I did not understand. Deployment YAML. Okay. You mean the YAML file that I'm using to deploy as part of the pipeline? So, okay, cool. So it can simply look this way, wherein account, right, where you want to deploy the YAML. It's just a sample YAML that I have in here, but where it gets deployed would depend on the cluster that got created in the previous stages. So I'll simply frame a spell expression and get the data, get the kube config from there and deploy it. Oh, am I sharing my screen or did I miss? Just
yeah, you're not.
Oh, okay. Let me share my screen back. Yeah, I hope you are able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, this is the YAML that I have to deploy manifest, and this is how I get the kube config from the previous stage, like apply stage, Terraform apply stage, and use it as my target cluster.
Abhinay, if you have time, can I go ahead with one more question?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Abhinay. Abhinay, in this deployment file, where if you see the image, which is actually static. So I'm looking at the tag actually, boost Apple app blue actually. So
yeah,
as part of this deployment, like whatever we are doing through Terraform state and the Spinnaker, so even this tag will get updated as well for every run, because most probably every time we used to build, right?
Correct.
Build and then deploy.
Correct. Yes, we can have that flexibility because obviously the whatever I demonstrated is not a complete real-time pipeline, right? So in the real-time pipeline, when you have your image creation process as part of your pipeline, what you will typically do is you will I think I covered it in my last meetup. So yeah, I'm creating my image using Jenkins as part of my first stage, right? So in the deployment stage, right, what I do is I'll get the image that's created in the previous stage. I'm making use of Helm in here. So what I'm doing is I'm getting the image tag. This is dynamic. This is not static in here. So making use of spell expression, I'm fetching the tag from the previous stage.
Okay. Yeah, we are using an overrides config variables.
Yeah. So I'm using overrides and I'm getting image is fixed in here. Of course, image repository might change. My default image repository in the Helm chart is something else. Here I'm reconfiguring repository as well as tag, but repository is kind of static in here, but tag, I'm using a dynamic tag.
Yeah, tag gets updated every time. Yeah.
Yes, correct. This is how you can make use of, flow information from one stage to another as part of the pipeline.
Thanks, Abhinay. Yeah, thanks for showing that. Actually, we are doing harness POC. So this Spinnaker also in place. So that's why.
Okay. I mean, one of our customers was using harness before, and they were fed up with it, and recently we started working with Spinnaker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you?
Nice presentation. Thanks, Abhinay.
No problem. Can you please show the Docker file you used to? No, this is not the one. There is one more chat I have seen wherein I have seen an unanswered question. Just a minute, guys. I think that's all. Yeah, over to you, Shalin.
Okay, guys, thank you. Do join us. I have put the link of our meetup group in the chat. Do join us over there. Else you can reach out to me or Abhinay on the Spinnaker Slack channel or LinkedIn. Thanks again for joining for this meetup. We'll be having the next meetup on 30th of July. I think that's the last Friday for this month. Thanks everyone, and thanks Abhinay. See you.
Have a nice day. Have a nice day, and meet everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Bye.